Wander Wealthy Podcast, episode 96. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Wander Wealthy Podcast. If you're new to the show, hello, my name is Tess Wicks. I happen to be the host of this podcast, and I'm also the founder and owner of Wander Wealthy, which is an online platform to help women become empowered, informed, and coached when it comes to their finances. We have programs over on wanderwealthy.com that can help you get your finances in line and help you get invested, also educated around financial management and investing. We also have a ton of freebies over there. So head on over to wanderwealthy.com if you want to access some of that stuff. There's also the Wander Wealthy community, and we're going to be really focusing on the community as we go into 2019. I announced last week on the show, at the end of the show, that I was making some changes, and those changes are still kind of, they're still in the brainstorming phase, but they will be happening. One change you might have caught on to if you do follow the Wander Wealthy YouTube channel is that I'm going to be pulling back from YouTube for the time being. It's indefinite. It's not going to be shut down forever, but just for the time being, while I really focus on kind of rerouting some things for Wander Wealthy, getting really clear on what I want to create for you guys in the remaining of 2019 and make sure that I am delivering exactly what you want and need. So I don't know how I got off topic there, but I think I did. Anyway, I'm the host if you're new to this show, and we typically do interviews, but every once in a while, usually once, sometimes twice a month, I will do a solo show, sharing something that's on my mind lately, something that I think can really help you in your financial or personal development journey, and also just update you on news and dips and doodads, whatever you want to call it. So today, you can see by the title of the show, I really wanted to talk about what to do or what's been going wrong when you feel like you're not making progress. This is something I shared in the Wander Wealthy community. If you want to get in, by the way, you can go to wanderwealthy.com/FB. If you are a member of the community, I'd love to know what you think of this show as we talk about it. But I shared about it in a Facebook Live one day. I didn't go too much in detail, but we talked about when you are trying to get after a goal. Maybe it's a financial goal. Maybe you're trying to start a business. Maybe you're trying to get after a health and fitness goal. Sometimes it feels like we do so much. We work and we work and we work and we never see progress. It's so hard for us to feel like we've accomplished anything. And I totally get that, especially when it's finances and maybe you have debt that you're trying to pay off. You also want to save for things. You have to work within a budget. You're trying to invest, but you feel like the growth is so slow, and it can be frustrating. I totally get that it can be frustrating. I work with clients one-on-one, and I see the air just drop out of them when I ask, okay, how are you feeling so far? From when we started to where we're at, where are you at in your mind? And oftentimes I get clients that go, I know I'm doing the right stuff. I'm putting the right foot, like one foot in front of the other, making the right moves, but I feel like nothing has happened. I still feel like I have to keep hustling and hustling and hustling, and I don't know. It's hard. I feel like I haven't made any progress. And that is totally normal, because when you are going after especially a huge financial goal or a huge health and fitness goal or a huge personal development or even business building goal, progress is slow, but it's happening. And I wanted to tackle this kind of problem that we all experience in two different ways. There's obviously the practical, logical, real tangible way in which you can tackle this. And then there is more of the woo-woo way. And I am totally like a half and half type of person. I love doing mindset work because I know there's a huge piece of that connects to actually how the brain works and how we get results in our lives. But there's also so much to be said for the practical aspect. And in my own business work and working with a business coach that I've recently hired, I've learned that sometimes I over practicalize things. I become this practical person. And my business coach has helped me reframe that thought of I'm not a practical person. I'm just very skilled and practiced at being practical. So that's something I want to share with you all, is how I apply practical tactics, but also some of that mindset approach. What exercise you can do from a mindset perspective to help yourself make sure that you are being able to get after your goals. So back to the whole idea. If you are conquering a goal, you're trying to get after something and you just feel like you're not making any progress. There are two ways to approach this, and I think you should approach it in both ways. First, let's get to the practical stuff. When I work with my clients, one big thing that I always do is we measure our net worth. We do it from the beginning of when we start coaching, and then we keep tabs on it. But once we get, 3 months in, sometimes I work with clients for 6 months and more, but once we're about 3 months in, we can do another measurement of their net worth. We always keep the starting point, but then we start measuring, okay, where are we at now? And I think what's really cool is you can actually see the movement that they've made. I recently wrapped up with a client, and after 5 months, we had this conversation about, oh, how do you feel? And she was not feeling great because she'd been tackling so much debt that she just felt like she kept having to put all of her money towards debt. We found a way to budget so that she had some money to live on and enjoy, but most of her income had to go towards paying off debt. And after 5 months, she's sitting there saying, I still don't have that much in savings, or I still don't have that much flexible spending money to be able to live with a little bit less weight off of my chest. But when we stepped back and we did the calculation, we did the tracking, she was able to see that she actually increased her net worth by $6,000. And when we finished, after working together for 6 months, it was up to $7,000. And this is someone who lives on a pretty tight and rather unpredictable income. So it was really cool to be able to show her what sort of progress she's made, even though, she realized this was going to pay down a huge chunk of debt. But having that weight off your shoulders is what can really just help you realize first that you've made a ton of progress and keep you motivated, because you've seen, oh, even though I felt like I was just living on a really low dollar amount, it's because most of my money was going to get this debt off my shoulders. And now I see that my net worth really did increase by quite a lot of money. So it's amazing what you can do when first you work with someone and they help you prioritize what to tackle and what to focus on. And you're able to do that over a period of time. And then you also work with someone who helps you stay accountable to tracking your progress. Now, if you aren't working with a coach, whether that be business or a money coach or a health and fitness coach, you might not have those tools in place. But I challenge you to figure out some way to track your progress. Track where you're starting from, or if you can, go back in time and find old pictures if you're working on health and fitness, or find old data points, or find your old bank account statements and calculate what your net worth was. And now every month or 2 months or even 3 months, you can continue to calculate and track that net worth and see how it changes. You can do this with other measurements too. Savings goals that you have, tracking each individual on an Excel spreadsheet or something, each individual savings goal or investment goal. And you can also do this, of course, if you are running a business. One of my big shifts that I'm going to be making in 2019 is starting to also help small business owners manage their finances, both on a personal and a business level. So if that is you, then you're going to get some business content along with the personal finance content here into the future. So that's exciting. But when it comes to business, if you are trying to run a business or even just increase your income and get creative about that, you can track your income and you can track that revenue that's coming in. And that helps you look back where you started, where you are today, and what sort of things you need to do now, knowing what you know with the information you have and those data points, you can make better decisions for yourself on, okay, do I need to make more sales calls? Do I need to pitch more people about freelance writing? Do I need to accept more opportunities in order to make more income? Or if you just have your 9-to-5 salary, is it time to renegotiate my salary? Has it been a significant amount of time? Tracking is important. And that is really that practical aspect of making sure you're keeping track and you're staying up to date with where you started, where you're currently at, and what sort of progress you made. Once the client that I was working with, once we really put that into perspective, it helped her realize, okay, I still, feel like, it's not so fun that all of my money is just going to debt, but being able to see that progress and see that she was able to chip away this huge chunk of debt and just completely eliminate it so that it no longer hung over her, that was the relief that we were looking for, to show her you are making progress. You might not see it building up in your savings account or building up in an investment account, but you're seeing it in the aspect of you no longer owe that. That is no longer a liability attached to your name, and now you get to release that stress that used to come with that debt. And even if it is savings, if you feel like the progress is slow, track it, see what's going on, see why maybe it's slow and how you could possibly speed it up, and that might help motivate you. Or maybe it feels slow, but it's not nearly as slow as where it was 3 months ago or 6 months ago. So being able to see that, if you do feel like you're putting in the work, you're hustling, you feel like you're really making sacrifices and you're living in this uncomfortable season, but you don't know if you're making any progress, you gotta track. You gotta go look back on it. So if you want, I do have a net worth calculator. I sell it, but I will offer you guys 50% off. You can use the discount code. I'll link up the discount code as well as the calculator in the show notes. I don't have a specific link to it. It's just this messy link from my selling page. So I'll just link it up in the show notes. You can go to the podcast player app to click on the link that takes you to the show notes, and there you'll find my quick and pretty net worth calculators. There's both a PDF download as well as a Excel download that you can download and convert into a numbers or Google Sheets format, and then that way you can either calculate manually using the PDF, or you can keep your calculator and make copies of it on a monthly or a quarterly basis to keep pace with your financial benchmark that will help you see what sort of progress you're making, because you will both input your savings goals or your savings rates, where you're at currently, your investments, as well as your debt. So any sort of progress you want to make on any three of those different aspects of your net worth, you'll be able to track that from month to month. And I explain how to do that within the calculator, so it's super easy. So I'll give you a discount code as well as the calculator, and it'll be linked up in the show notes at wanderwealthypodcast.com/podcast/episode 96. So you can get that. Now onto the mindset piece. So that's the practical piece, is to track your progress, because if you feel like things just aren't happening for you, you probably just haven't looked back to see that really things have. And if the reality is things haven't happened, well, why haven't they happened? And tracking is going to help you uncover that. But let's talk about the mindset piece. There are so many aspects of the way we think about things, or some of our beliefs, that shape how we feel about our situation. And again, whether that's to improve your health and fitness, to increase your net worth, or to change something specific about your financial situation, or to start a business and build it, the way that we feel about our current state is impacted by the thoughts that we think and those beliefs, which a belief is just a thought that we continue to think, if you think about it, and that impacts how we feel. And of course, how we feel impacts the actions that we take, and the actions we take impact our results. I mean, that is a very basic pyramid of how our life is operated, is that we have control of our thoughts, the thoughts that we think, whether we're choosing them or subconsciously not realizing that we're choosing them, impact how we feel. The way we feel impacts what sort of action you're going to take. So if you feel crappy in the moment, you're not going to want to take action on something that, maybe the result would eventually help you think differently and then it'll help you feel better. But it's like the chicken or the egg situation. If you're feeling crappy now, you're not going to act in a way that would make you not feel crappy. You're going to stay in this crappiness, and that's going to mean you either won't take action or you're going to take actions that are the exact opposite of how you really want to be. So how do we change this? When we're reflecting on the progress that we made, first of all, we have to reshape how we are measuring ourselves and our progress. I think one big thing is the approach to tracking your progress. Specifically, if we go to tangible tracking, is we got to get out of the idea that we need to measure ourselves up to other people. I mean, this is something that we subconsciously do constantly. If you're trying to grow your business, if you have some sort of like weight goal or financial goal, you're going to look to the outside world to decide how you measure up against them. And we have to stop doing that. That is why I think that your net worth is such a good benchmark for practically measuring and tracking your progress, because it helps you measure yourself against yourself and not against anyone else. But this becomes harder when we start thinking about like health and fitness. Sometimes finance, if you do have more open conversations with friends and family, but that likely isn't always the case. But you can measure up yourself against other people if you're looking at what you can realistically afford compared to what other people, like your friends, can afford, although that can be misleading because there are debt vehicles that make things questionable. We don't know really how much anyone can afford these days, but there's ways that you can technically measure up yourself against other people, plus all the rules of thumb that are out there on the internet, like, oh, you should have this much saved by the age of 30. So there's that. And then when it comes to businesses, we tend to measure up ourselves against not even how other people are doing specifically, because we don't always know that. Again, it can kind of be like they might also have debt and be able to just buy all these fancy things, but the way other people portray themselves online. If you're running a business and you're looking and comparing yourselves to other people online, it gets really confusing. I mean, that's the way it is with everything, with your health and fitness, with your money, with your business. If you're measuring yourself up in those categories, because those are the big three that I think we do compare ourselves to other people against. If you're doing it online, we know that online isn't real life, right? I mean, there's Facetune and Photoshop. There is debt vehicles that allow people to be able to purchase things that are way out of their price range. And there's just fancy stuff that anyone and everyone can do when it comes to making their business look like they're really rocking it, right? So we got to get out of that. We got to get out of comparison. And when it comes to progress, we can only look back at where we are at. Now, how we feel personally about that is going to be a reflection of the thoughts you're thinking about your current situation. And the hardest thing when you're really trying to persevere in a way, when you're really trying to get motivation about what you're doing, and get motivation when you feel like you're not seeing progress, even though you might be, you just haven't tracked and you don't know, is you have to change the way you're thinking, right? Because right now, if I'm sitting here and I'm trying to save money, but I just feel like I'm not making any progress and I feel shitty about it and I'm feeling bad for myself and I'm not in a good spot, and it just makes me feel better to spend money instead, to go out and buy the new shoes that I've been stalking, because when I'm bored and I'm not motivated and I'm feeling down about the fact that I'm not saving money, I then go online and look at new shoes, and then I want to buy them, and then I do buy them because I'm feeling bad, and it's this downward spiral, right? I mean, the same happens if you're in that same position, you want to save money, you're feeling bad about your progress, but you're not motivated because you're just feeling maybe like you're the victim of your own life, and you don't feel energized or excited to do things like meal prep, for instance. So we order takeout and we pay $10 for delivery, or we add a bunch of things to the cart so that we can get free delivery. This is a spiral that we get in, and I'm not a saint here. I do the exact same thing. And I think the best thing you can do from a mindset perspective, if you're feeling bad about your progress, you're feeling unmotivated, and you're almost feeling like I'm about ready to give up, is to sit down and change the way you're thinking. Now, it's really hard to change the way you're thinking. It's hard to completely reverse the way you're thinking and be like, okay, right now I'm thinking that I'm doing bad in my progress and, I'm never going to save enough money to be able to purchase the things that I want. It's really hard to all of a sudden go, the world is my oyster. I can make money whenever I want to, and I'm such a good saver. Especially because if you don't believe it, you're immediately going to reflex and not think that. You can't just force yourself to believe something if you really don't believe it's true. But you can neutralize the way you're thinking. So instead of saying that you're feeling bad about your progress and thinking that you're never going to save for this thing, you can, of course, ask yourself the questions of, is this really true? Am I really never going to lose weight? Am I really never going to save any money? Am I really not capable of not capable of building a business? And maybe your first answer is, yeah, it feels like it's true, but it feels like it's true. Is it really true? And you have to ask yourself, you have to really question it. And you'll probably go to, okay, no, it's not true that I could never do these things. I could do these things realistically. So then you have to find a way to neutralize your thinking. Instead of being on the negative end, you have to find a way to get to, okay, I am capable of saving money. It might not be the $1,000 a month I'd like to save. Maybe it's $10 a month, or maybe it's $5 a week. And if you can break it down in a way or get really specific and neutralize and find a realistic place that you can believe that's true, you can then start to slowly inch your way to the other side. And pay attention to how you feel about these thoughts, because we're changing our thoughts so that we can change the way we feel. Because we make decisions, we take actions based on how we feel today. So you might have a goal, and I've talked about this, I think, on the podcast before, definitely in some Facebook Lives in the Wealthy Wanderers group, but we often take action based on how we feel. And if you have a goal where you want to save $3,000 for a trip, and you can imagine and you can envision yourself at the end of the year with $3,000 saved in a bank account, or maybe your goal is to be debt-free, and you can envision yourself with no debt, and you can imagine how that feels to not have any debt, or to have your $3,000 saved so you can finally purchase the plane ticket and buy the accommodation to go on this trip. And you can put yourself in this position. Same goals with if you have a goal of losing weight or getting into some sort of fitness shape, or again, building a business, or, having a thriving, successful company, whatever it is your goal is, you can imagine how that feels. But if you don't feel that way today, it's really hard to take action with an opposite feeling, to take good, positive, progressive action that helps you make progress. So you can see how feeling like you're not making progress can really impact you actually making progress. Because if you feel like you're not making progress, you're feeling bad about yourself, you're feeling bad in the situation, you're not going to take action. If you can think about how you would feel, the goals that you have different feelings attached to them. So basically, and this is where vision casting comes in, if you can sit down and visualize yourself actually achieving these goals, or actually already have achieved these goals, then you can act in accordance to how that person, that future you feels. And basically what we want to do is all the actions we take, especially as it relates to these goals we're trying to achieve, we want to take action as if we've already achieved these goals. And in order to do that, we have to feel as if we already have achieved these goals. And in order to do that, because our feelings come from our thoughts, we have to think about already achieving these goals. And it can be really hard, I know, because when your reality is so much different from where you want to be, you just have to mess with reality. And this is, again, where that mindset stuff, it can be very intangible, but it's a practice. Your brain doesn't know what the difference is between reality, like what you're really living in, and what you tell it to believe. So if you tell it to believe that you are already this person who's debt-free, who has $3,000 in her travel fund to go travel to Europe and pay for accommodations and a really cheap, awesome ticket that you found online, Who is this person who's built this business that is successful? Who is a person who has dropped the 10 pounds and is in good physical shape that can get up and run a 5K if you just told me that I should do it? That is me. I can do that. You have to get into that headspace so that the actions you will take are based on this feeling that you've already achieved it. And again, it is hard, but it is not impossible because so many people do this every single day. They get into the headspace that they are in a reality that isn't their actual physical here in the present moment reality, but they put themselves there, and that's what keeps them motivated. That's what keeps them knowing that, even if their actual data-driven progress doesn't say they're making great progress, they get themselves into the space where it doesn't matter what you tell them because they think this certain way, and that makes them feel a certain way, and that leads them to take inspired action. And believe me, again, I'm no saint here. I am not a master of this. I am not in the place where I can just go 365 days a year taking inspired action. I get days where I just have to sit on the couch and feel bad for myself, but I snap myself out of it because I know how unproductive doing that is. So don't feel bad about yourself if you have realized throughout this podcast that, oh, yeah, maybe I've been in victim mode, because we all get in victim mode. But have the insight to your own mind and your own feelings and your own actions that you are taking or you're not taking, so they're leading to a result you do not want. Have the insight to go, maybe I need to start thinking differently. And if you can't think the exact opposite that leads you to taking inspired actions, at least neutralize your thinking. Don't let it be negative or positive. Just let's face reality. I am a capable person. That could be it. That would be what you would repeat to yourself. And eventually you would repeat to yourself, I'm capable of saving $5 a week. I can set it aside. And how does that feel? And what action do you want to take because of that feeling? And then I'm capable of saving $50 a week. And then I'm capable of saving the amount of money I need to save to be able to save for this trip 6 months from now. And you can always do the math, and this gets back to the practical, where then we do the math and we figure out what that number is. But we got to believe it. And in order to believe it, you have to start inching closer to it by neutralizing where you're at today. So that is what I've been thinking about lately, and I hope it's helpful. If you guys do want to grab the net worth tracker to at least track your financial place, whether you are self-employed or you have a job, it's appropriate for you. I want you to get your personal finances right before you worry about your business finances if you do have a business. So grab the tracker. I will, again, link it up in the show notes. I'm sorry I don't have a direct link. I'll put that up. I'll get that together the next time I talk about the quick and pretty net worth tracker in a future episode, but I will link it up in the show notes. You'll be able to get it by going to wanderwealthypodcast.com/podcast/episode 96. All right. The last thing I wanted to leave you with is just a shout out to some of my new coaching clients. I know you guys are podcast listeners, and I'm so excited to be working with you all. I still have spaces left for one-on-one coaching clients. If you are interested in revamping your financial situation, if 2019 is your year where you're going to get your finances in line and you're really just looking for that extra push, you need someone to meet with, you need someone to help you set up a strategy and put your priorities in place and hold you accountable to taking those actions that you know you need to do probably, but you just haven't done them, well, financial coaching is probably a good next step for you to take. I love helping people figure out what their next step really should be, how they should be prioritizing their savings from their debt reduction, from their investing, and we create a plan that is realistic and totally doable. So if you want to apply, I always offer a free discovery session. You can go to wanderwealthy.com/apply. You'll set up a discovery call with me. We'll talk about your goals, your challenges, what you could be doing, what you are, what you aren't doing, and we'll start getting that fire going. If you feel it in your heart that this is the year to get your money in order, and by the way, if you are part of a partnership, if you have a spouse or a person that maybe you live with or a fiance that you want to start joining your money with. I also work with couples, so just shout out to you as well. But if this is your year, then apply. I will link everything up again in the show notes, in the description box of this episode. And I'm super excited to be working with some of you this year to really turn your finances around, help you feel empowered and confident around your money matters and your money decisions. All right, that is all I have for you guys today. I'd love it if you would go to the Wealthy Wanderers group. Tell me what your thinking is. Tell me how you're feeling about your progress. Tell me about your big goals. Make a comment on, I'll share this podcast, so you can make a comment there. You can start your own thread, ask any questions you have, and let's start a conversation. Until I see you in there, I hope you wander wealthy.